Victor Wembanyama had his NBA debut. Let's discuss it.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, this is Chris Sabat, and you're listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs, right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you back. Happy Monday, everybody. Hope you had a great weekend and enjoyed Wemby's debut. That's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. The Spurs' number one pick, he made his Summer League debut against the Hornets. So we're going to be discussing that. Quick note, though, due to some time constraints, we had to record this after game one versus the Hornets, so we don't have the sample size of game two if Wemby does play against Blazers and Scoot. So keep that in mind as we go forward with our guests. I'll bring in momentarily. But yeah, we always thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day, free and available wherever you get podcasts. And Wemby had himself, I would call it a decent debut. There was probably just one play where he got the crowd going, and that was like a 4-point play. But he didn't dazzle. He didn't constantly bring those highlights. And yeah, they were already out there, those naysayers saying, well, so much for a Wemby debut. He didn't do bleep. Well, again, got to keep things in mind. One, this was his first game in a Spurs uniform with teammates that he doesn't really know. So keep that in mind. The whole idea behind his debut is this. You saw the foundation. You saw sprinkles of what he can become throughout that game. Defensively, blocking shots in the perimeter. Offensively, just mentioned it, taking a 3-point shot and making a 4-point play. If you were expecting him to drop 50, 30, and 10 or something like that, well, yeah, I was right there with you. I was hoping he would, but he did not. And that's okay. That's all right. You saw him individually give you things, give you, I guess, a sneak preview of what he can become once he gets familiar with his teammates that he's going to be going to war with the rest of the season. And two, shaking off that rust. I mean, that was the first time he played at least some sort of organized basketball in quite some time. So although perhaps you, me, our guests were probably expecting the all world, the next coming to drop, some sort of triple double, it didn't happen. Again, that is okay. As I said in the last episode last week of Locked On Spurs, no matter how it played out, if he dropped big numbers, if he stunk up the joint, or he just played okay, as we saw versus the Hornets, then you got to take everything with a grain of salt. Who knows? Perhaps by the time you're watching this show and he played game two versus the Blazers and Scoot, and he just wowed them. Hopefully that does happen. But if it didn't, and he landed somewhere in one of those slots, again, that is okay. No need to panic. There's a lot of basketball. There's a lot of growing for him ahead, and we're going to get into it all right here on Locked On Spurs. Our first guest, I'll bring him on shortly. His name is Michael Jimenez of the Acquired Taste YouTube show. He's going to come on for the first couple of segments to discuss Wembanyama's Summer League debut. Again, we're just recording after the Hornets game. Due to time constraints, we could not get together on a Sunday game, so keep that in mind. And then later on the show, we're going to have Dr. Ryan McCorkle. He is back, everybody. He's going to be discussing about Wemby and his comments saying he doesn't need to get bulkier, he just needs to get stronger. What does that mean? Dr. Ryan's going to talk about that right here on Locked On Spurs. Let's go to bring him on. He is Michael Jimenez. He is with the Acquired Taste YouTube show, and he is chomping at the bit to tear down Wemby, right? You're going to be that guy, aren't you? You're going to be that guy.
Yeah, the sky is falling. I cannot believe this happened.
Yeah, exactly.
It's time to panic, right? Pandemonium. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not like that right now. I liked a lot of what I saw, and maybe that's just being a Spurs fan and just trying to, turn lemons into lemonade. Maybe that's what I'm trying to do right now. But there's a lot to be said about this evening's game. The fact of the matter is that you got to think about what he was going through as a 19-year-old walking into the Thomas and Mack Center knowing that it was sold out, knowing that it was going to be on ESPN, knowing that the whole world was going to be watching, the pressure that was on him had to be tremendous. And to be playing a game 25, 26 minutes with people that you barely even know, that you haven't practiced with, had to be difficult with a different dimension of a court, a different type of basketball. There's a lot of things that were not going to translate in game one. And because of that, I know for a lot of people, the sky is falling, and we're going to hear all that crap. And I'm sure Rocket fan is all excited about this, right?
Oh, you know that. Yeah, they're coming at us already.
But yes, but I mean, overall, I thought he did okay.
Yeah, I thought it was okay. Let's start on the offensive end in this first segment with you, Jimenez. Offensively, he struggled away from the paint. That at least in the first half, I believe he went over from the 3 line. He was taking them, just wasn't connecting on them. Missing some close in shots. I think he blew a dunk at one point.
Yeah.
Offensively, it looks like that's gonna be a work in progress. I like that. Offensively, he was taking his shot. I like that. I like that he wasn't shy to take a 3 shot, and I like that he wasn't shy to miss it in front of thousands of crowds. I like that. But it looks like there might be some learning curve offensively. Although I think it'll come very, very fast considering what he did in the French league. And also, too, let's not forget, too, the Spurs offensive system is probably going to run around him when the regular season starts. And so he'll definitely get a lot of touches to get going. Jimenez, he did finish with double figures scoring, I believe.
No,
but
9 points.
I'm sorry. Excuse me. I'm sorry. 9 points. My mistake. Yeah. 9 points. But, yeah, just a rough night shooting. I'm not making a big deal about that. What about you?
Well, a couple of things. I was excited the first 2 times he caught the ball. He wanted to shoot it, right? And it was very confident the way that he was shooting. Didn't go in, right? He had the confidence, but he didn't have the accuracy.
Right.
But once he missed 2 or 3 shots, he became very tentative with his shot. And there were a few 3-point attempts where he either hesitated or he thought a long second about whether to pass it or not, and then he decided to shoot. I mean, there were 2 shots where he didn't even hit the iron, for crying out loud. I think one was a complete brick on top of it. So it was almost like he lost his confidence in his shot when the first few didn't go down. Oddly enough, the 2 buckets that he did made arguably were the hardest shots to take. I mean, one was a 4-point play, and then one was when he got hacked down low.
Exactly.
It's almost like have to think about it. He was fine, but they were giving him time to shoot. Did you notice that?
I did.
It wasn't one of those things where they had a hand in his face or they were guarding him very tight. He was missing wide open shots, and he was very hesitant when he was shooting them.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I'm not making a big issue about his offensive struggles for most of the night. You saw it started to come on towards the end of the game when it was already the time was not on his side to get going. Also, too, I'm actually surprised the Spurs played him almost the entire game. I mean, that was a good chunk of time out there for him. So kudos to the Spurs, not sitting on him after 2 minutes of play. But offensively, too, I like that he wanted to get his teammates involved. He had some pretty dimes. He had some nice assists. He was looking for his teammates. He found them under the basket. He found them away from the basket. He had a fancy pass, driving to the rim. I like that. But hopefully in game 2, again, we're recording this after game 1. Unfortunately, we cannot record after game 2. That I hope to find out and see his highlights that he was getting more selfish. Is that okay? I would like to see him get more selfish offensively to really set his dominance offensively. And yeah, if they hack him, send him to the free throw line. Great. If they push him around, good. Let him get used to it because we saw that offensively a few times. Some players on the Charlotte side really bodied him in the paint and not letting him get comfortable.
Well, he played 27 minutes, and that's a surprise because if I had set an over-under, it would have been like 15 to 18 or so. But he played 27 minutes, and they sat him down. And you texted me saying, hey, I think he's done for the night. And they brought him back in with 4.5 to go, and I was kind of surprised that they did so.
Yeah, me too, yeah.
Glad that they did because he got to knock down that 3 on that 4-point play and hopefully get a little bit of confidence. what we saw from Victor Wembanyama in his Spurs debut is a very high IQ player offensively when it comes to getting other people involved, when it comes to finding the right pass and being selfless with it all. Down the stretch, he was trying to demand the ball down low. He was wanting to do something as a post-up, but for some reason, the young guys on this team who are eventually going to be in Austin were not giving him the ball. So we never got to see that whole thing. The one thing that did concern me when it came to Wemby offensively, beyond the fact that, he was not accurate at all in his first game, is the fact that he didn't protect the ball at all when he was dribbling. He had a couple of plays where he dazzled, where it was like, oh, man, look at this guy with handles. He's 7'3". But there were a couple of plays down the stretch where, he was getting his pocket picked. And the reason why was because he wasn't protecting the ball. And when you're 7'3" and the ball is bouncing so high, you're going to have better players that are in the NBA compared to the French league who are better defensively, who are going to pick his pocket if he doesn't protect that thing.
Yeah. He had some turnovers throughout the night. I think there's one thing they're going to work with him is we know he has the dribbling skills. They're there, but I think they need refinement. Like when he dribbles, he tends to put his head down, like really low, and he's trying to keep his eyes up. And look, there's plenty of game footage of him, and you can't tell me these teams are scouting him already and trying to see how they can disrupt him offensively and defensively. And that's one thing you saw again offensively. You saw on one play, Jimenez, I don't know if you caught this, Hornets player really got into him, really put his body in him, and you saw Wemby collapse. He fell to the court and just barely got the pass out on the perimeter. I expect a lot of that in his maiden voyage when the regular season starts. Jimenez, your thoughts?
Yeah, in a regular season game, that would have been called a charge. Yeah. I had my hand behind my head. I was ready to call a charge on that one right there because you cannot push off the way that player did. That player that did that was 6'5", a foot shorter than Wemby. He drove into the lane and kind of just used his forearm to create space. It's interesting to see what he was able to do on both sides of the court. Offensively, he struggled. He was trying to assert himself into the game. It didn't work. But then you saw the players on the Hornets team that were trying to take it to him a bit. And then you have the quote-unquote posterization play, the posterized play, which, by the way, does not count as a poster at all.
But I'm glad.
He was not trying to defend that shot. He was not trying to block it. He was going for the steal and got caught. He wasn't. They didn't dunk over him while he was trying to defend the shot. It was an alley-oop attempt. He tried to steal the ball, and that's how he got quote unquote.
You're talking about the Kai Jones
kept him out there, right?
Yep. You're talking about the Kai Jones dunk, right?
Yeah, Kai Jones, who?
Okay. No. I think Kai caught him. But in a way, I'm glad he got it out of the way. Like it's already out of the way. Somebody already got him. Okay, we're good. Moving right along. And speaking of moving right along, when we get back, we're gonna continue our chat with Jimenez, and we're gonna discuss the defensive end. What do we like defensively out of Wemby? And I'm pretty sure Mike is going to be glowing about that end of the court. At least I think he is. Find out right here on Locked On Spurs. Hey, look, picking up burgers and hot dogs for a summer barbecue, you're already going to do it. So why not get some cash back for it with Ibotta? Ibotta gives you cash back on hundreds of grocery items, from produce to personal care to pantry goods, so you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. Either link your loyalty account or upload your receipt after you shop to get your cash back. It's super easy. Other apps, they give you points that don't amount to much. With Ibotta, you get real cash back that you can cash out to your bank account, PayPal, or gift cards. You can earn cash back on hundreds of online brands and retailers too. And when you start with Ibotta, such as Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and so many other spots. On average, Ibotta users earn $120 per year. I'm pretty sure you can pocket $120 right now. That can cover the entire cost of an entire shopping trip. That's why you got to get Ibotta right now. Hey, look, if you're dying to go to that fancy dinner, why not save up for it using Ibotta? Right now, Ibotta is offering listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta with code LOCKED when you register. Just go to the App Store or the Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app and use code LOCKED. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store and use code LOCKED.
Hi, this is Nathan Ray Clark from Criminal Minds and Modern Family. And you lucky SOB, you're listening to the best Spurs podcast out there. Locked On Spurs with your boy, Jeff Garcia. God, he's sexy.
And we're back right here on Locked On Spurs with my guest, my good friend. He is Michael Jimenez of the Acquired Taste YouTube show, which is taking off. Every day I get a text from Jimenez saying, so my numbers are this now. I eclipse this now. I eclipse this now. You want to check it out again. It's on YouTube right now. It's a great show. You get it. Look, go check it out. Go look at Jimenez in his infancy with this Acquired Taste network. Yes, I said network that he's going to start creating, and it's going up. It's a fun show. I like it. I'm a part of it almost weekly, and Jimenez is going to brag about that later. Look at him. He's beaming like a proud dad. Look at that. Beaming like
very much so. Very much so.
All right, Jimenez is getting to the defensive end for Wembanyama in Game 1 of his Summer League NBA debut. Once again, going to stress this because you know they're coming, Jimenez. You didn't talk about him in Game 2 versus Scoot in Portland. Okay, we're recording this after Game 1, and because of time constraints, unfortunately, we were not able to record after Game 2, so we're just looking at his Game 1 debut. Defensively, wow. I mean, I think he's going to have no problems defensively. He had, 4 blocks on the night, which I expected.
He had 5 blocks and 8 defensive rebounds.
5 blocks, 8 defensive rebounds. Yeah, that's what I like to see. He was a disruptor, Jimenez. Your thoughts?
And it was beyond the 5 blocks. I mean, he doesn't get credit for the altered as well. I mean, those should count as something. No, Wembanyama looked good defensively. It translated. It reminds me a little bit of what we discussed on the Acquired Taste about how Draymond Green was saying that it might take a while for Wemby to get good offensively, but defensively, it's going to be right out of the gate.
Yeah, exactly.
Draymond got that one spot on because even though he doesn't have that familiarity with the teammates that he had out there in the summer, Wemby was able to go out there and think about it this way. I don't think he asserted himself defensively. I think he was just trying to go with the flow of the game. So imagine when he starts to assert himself. If this is the worst case scenario where defensively he's kind of just trying to figure things out and, oh, by the way, just happened to get 8 defensive rebounds and, oh, by the way, just happened to get 5 blocks and alter 3 or 4 others. I mean, this is going to be invaluable for the Spurs because the Spurs gave up a lot of points last season. The Spurs had a very bad field goal percentage allowed last season. And Wemby's going to be a big, big part of changing all of that. And then you add a Jeremy Sohan to the mix and the defense of Devin Vassell. It's going to be better. And the fact is, I mean, Wemby was playing with players who are going to be on the team, but they're not going to be the starters with him on the court, right? But defensively, if I had to give him a letter grade defensively, I'd say an A-.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think I give him an A. You saw him defend on the perimeter. He picked somebody's pocket outside the three-point line with his length.
He stuffed Brandon Miller on a three-point attempt.
Exactly. He stopped Brandon Miller on a three-point attempt, blocked it, and picked his pocket, picked another player's pocket. It was just great to see that. That length is going to be a disruption. And you mentioned just some of the teammates on the defensive end he's going to team up with the regular season starts. You even forget about Trey Jones. You know, if he is the starter on opening night, then that's I'm going to expect the Spurs to be among the top 5 defensive teams next year. I really think so. Just Wemby alone just boosts that up big time. And that's what wins games is defense.
Defense wins games and it gets you minutes with Pop. And I don't know if they'll go top 5. I can see them being top 10. You know, as far as defense is concerned. And that's going to translate to some wins. It might be ugly wins that the Spurs get. I mean, are we going to go back to the days of the Spurs, winning games 92-89? Is that what's going to happen? Because, defensively, it was so nice to see Victor Wembanyama kind of just let the game come to him. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Brandon Miller made a move on him. He did have a couple of plays where he was out of sorts. But it's one of those things where I almost trust him more inside. And then you see all do on the weak side defense. All the blocks that he had was helping out, just coming from the opposite side underneath the basket and boom, getting a hand on the ball. And sometimes it wasn't a full-on block like a volleyball block. I mean, sometimes it was just getting a couple of fingers on there, right. And suddenly the ball is just nowhere near the hoop. But all in all, was happy with his performance on the defensive side of the ball. The offensive side of the ball, I'll give him a pass. But I will say this, though. The pressure that he was under this was so dramatic. And then to hear the frustration of a sold-out crowd who went to see him, hoping that they would see a 40, 20, and 10 type of game, and the buzz that was there as they're daring him to shoot. I mean, he had 17,000 people daring him to shoot. Right. And I know all the Spurs fans that were out there were very, very protective of their baby, And I know a lot of people were like, don't turn against Wemby. We're not turning against Wemby.
Just game one,
If the worst case scenario is we got a guy who has who's going to get 10, 12 rebounds and 4, 5, or 6 blocks per game, the offense will come. The offense will come.
Yeah, that'll definitely come, yes. And you even saw when opposing players on the Hornets side tried to score on him in the paint. Sure, a couple guys got, a shot off on him and made it, but they had to really stretch to get around Wemby in that lane. They really had to maneuver around him. So you figure that was just his first game, or at least organized basketball in quite some time. He played the French finals was the last time he played, and that was early July.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, not early July. It was just like right before that. It was like middle of June. Middle of June. Right. Yeah, middle of June.
Can I mention something right away? Maybe this is a bit of an omen, but when they were showing the warm-ups before the game, Wemby was missing dunks. And he missed a dunk early in the game too. So bizarre because he's so close to the freaking rim.
He is.
and it was almost like he got too close to the rim.
I'm expecting a lot of this to happen next season, in the regular season, from fans. Wemby, you're right there. Just finish with authority. Remember the old David Robinson days when Robinson would always go for a layup, and they were like, "You're right there. Just dunk it."
No, finish with authority is Jakob Poeltl. Why did Jakob the team in like layups? Like, dude, you're 7 foot tall.
Like, Cram went on somebody. Yeah,
just turn the wrist over and dunk the ball. That's all we needed to do. But Wemby, I mean, we're going to hear it like crazy. Spurs fans are going to get very defensive.
Oh yeah, it's probably happening right now.
Fact of the matter is, guess what? This game was meaningless.
Exactly.
It was a pickup game.
Yeah, exactly. For Wemby's debut against the Hornets in summer league play, didn't matter what the outcome was. Didn't matter anything. You just hope he was healthy, and he shows you some tricks in his bag, and he showed a lot. Yes, they weren't big time wow factor aside from the 4-point play and a couple other plays, but they were efficient. He gave you a lot of blocks. He gave you some rebounds. He gave you some scoring. He presented himself as a 3-point threat, and I think it'll fall eventually. He was able to defend on the perimeter, and he got his teammates involved. He was very mindful of that. I like also, too, he didn't let the pressure of showing out get to him and force something to happen. So I really like that as well. Instead of like, hey, well, all these people showed up to see me do something, spectacular. I like that he didn't give into that. He just played with himself and shook off the rust. And hopefully, again, in game 2, by the time you're watching this, he had perhaps a better all-around performance. You're just looking for incremental growth from the 19-year-old number 1 pick for the Spurs. All right, Jimenez, before I let you go, give us a grade. What did you think about his NBA Summer League debut versus Charlotte?
I'm going to give it a B, A- on the defensive side. I would give him a C-, D+, if you will, on the offensive side. But I'll give him some leeway because he had not practiced with the team, and he didn't. It's just becoming accustomed to the team and to the style of play. So that's all going to come. But one last thing, if I could just add this, I was also impressed with Wemby's post-game interview with ESPN and talking about he liked the fact that his team won
Mhm.
and that he was able to contribute to a win somehow, some way.
Right.
And I think I would be more concerned if the defense didn't show up. It's one thing to have a game where you're shooting 2 for whatever it was, 2 for 13 or whatever he did in this game. And you look at that and think to yourself, wow, he was awful offensively and he didn't bring it defensively.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that we know that the defense is going to be there. That is reason to celebrate. That's reason to look at Victor Wembanyama and think to yourself, you know what? This is going to be a very, very, very good player. It's just offensively, we might have to wait till December, January, February before he is fully confident in what he's doing offensively.
Right.
But the Spurs have time, and they have good players around him that are getting better. Julian Champagnie. Oh my God! Again.
Whoa.
Again, you and I need to have a conversation about whether he makes Keldon expendable, because I hate to say it that way.
Wow.
But oh my God, that was a slight joke, but not really. I mean,
he's showing out. I mean, I look. I'm not knocking it. It's versus summer league talent right now. Well, we'll see how he looks like in preseason at minimum before we get to that.
He shot 40% from 3 last year with the Spurs, and I know it was only in 15 games or so, but he's doing that again. And you know how I like offensive efficiency, and that dude is super efficient. And what a dunk this evening where he just stared down that guy. He stared down the defender, and I
didn't know he had it in him. I didn't know he had that in him.
Dude, I if I had to go buy a jersey right now, it wouldn't be Wemby's. I think I'd buy Champagnie's. I want to buy that stock.
And I think if you were to do that and wear it to a game, fans would actually come up to you and be like, you know what? That's pretty cool. Like, I think if you'll get that kind of reaction, like, you know what? That is awesome. Like, that's perfect. And you'll probably get an easy way to get you a photograph with Champagnie.
There you go.
You wearing his jersey. Yeah, no, Champagnie for sure. I mean, again, shades of your Gary Neals or your Bryn Forbes, those undrafted players the Spurs find and become crucial in the season. And yeah, I think at this rate, he probably locked himself up a spot on the San Antonio roster.
No, and I think he's going to be in the 9-10 rotation. He's going to get at least 15 minutes a game, at least.
Yeah. He's a deep threat. You like that, and apparently he can take it to the rim and put some. You can put somebody 6 feet under, because I'm pretty sure you were there to give out the eulogy for that Hornets player. The funeral services were beautiful for that guy.
Sarah McCorkle singing in the background.
The guy. Champagnie had some final words for him, but no, it was all good. But yeah, definitely Champagnie's wowing everybody. But I'm going to give Wemby a B. So right below you. No. You give him what, a B?
Yeah, I give him a B also.
You give him a B? Yeah, I give him a B. Yeah, there's room. There's definitely room for improvement offensively. Defensively, just some fine tuning. But I think, I'm going to give Wemby a little bit of benefit of the doubt. I'm going to say his offense probably comes sooner than later. Maybe right before All-Star break. I think you said that right around December, right? You said around December? Okay.
I said December is probably between December and February. He should have his feet under him as to what he's doing.
Exactly. Yes, I agree. I think we'll give him that, and it'll come. So not a bad. It was okay. It was a good debut. It was a good debut. Again, he showed you a little bit of everything. Hopefully, he shows you a lot more versus the Blazers, and we'll be definitely talking about that. Before I let Jimenez go and bring on Dr. Ryan McCorkle, brag about your new MJ Acquired Taste on YouTube. What's going on?
Yeah, the Acquired Taste podcast is Monday through Friday from 12 to about 1:15 or so. It's on YouTube, Facebook, it's on Twitter as well, and it's a fun. We're getting closer and closer to 500 subscribers, which is amazing for YouTube. A lot of our traffic comes from Twitter, but slowly but surely they're doing the right thing and migrating over to the YouTube side. Good. So to get 500 or so, or 400 and some odd followers in less than a month has been a blessing. This is turning into a network because August 6th, we're beginning the Fantasy Gods Fantasy Football Show with Brandon Medina. Mm-hmm. I'm looking closer to the start of the NFL and football season to expand this to a 2-hour show. And the
Nice.
goal is to fill in the gaps, because right now, local sports talk radio does not have any local programming between 10 and 2. So why not do it myself? Why not get my own people, put together our own network for this, and then also provide that Sunday morning type of thing that, by the way, local stations don't do either. So it's been, and we've gotten a lot of good comments and a lot of praise. But I'm excited, and it's starting to take off.
Yeah, he is Michael Jimenez with the MJ Acquired Taste YouTube network. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at MJ Acquired Taste. Hey, give out your threads. That's what the kids are doing now. Your threads now. What's your threads handle?
Yeah, I reached out to you about that as well. My threads is MJIM1313. It's the same as my Instagram, because it has to be the same as the Instagram. Right. So if you follow me on Instagram as well, that's perfectly fine. You can also follow me on TikTok at MJ Acquired Taste as well.
Absolutely. Again, he is Michael Jimenez of the Acquired Taste YouTube show. Just Google it, or YouTube it in this case. Follow, or just go to his Twitter. It's all right there at MJ Acquired Taste. But coming up next is Dr. Ryan McCorkle. Yes, he's back for a segment. He's going to talk about Wembanyama and his comments, Wemby's comments about adding strength versus bulk. What does that mean? Dr. Ryan McCorkle is going to tell you all about that right here on Locked On Spurs. All right, we are now joined by Dr. Ryan McCorkle. He is back, everybody. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at AustinERDoc. He's with the Backstage Concierge Medicine Practice, as well as the St. David's Emergency Room out in Austin, Texas. So, Doctor, welcome back to Locked On Spurs. By the way, everybody, no video for this portion. We had a scheduling conflict. So, unfortunately, this is the only way we can connect for today's show. But all that matters, really, Doctor, is one, that you are okay, doing fine, and happy birthday to your daughters.
Oh, man. Thanks. My sons, they're turning 13 today, so I'm really proud of them. We just got back from Joshua Tree National Park and Disneyland for their birthday, and we're going out to celebrate today because it's their actual birthday. So okay. Finny and Lila are the two best things in my world. So I'm really proud of them, and happy birthday to them.
Exactly. Happy birthday to them from Locked On Spurs. And let's get you out of here quick, because that is way more important, spending time with your kids there. So, Doctor, quickly, we heard Victor Wembanyama talk about, or addressing, the knock on him that, he's, too skinny, he's too thin. And he had a sharp remark to that. He goes, well, everybody should skinny up, instead of bulking up. So, but he focused a lot. He said he does want to get stronger, but he also said not necessarily bulkier. Can you explain to us how he could accomplish that? What does he mean by that? And what type of, program do you think the Spurs may put him on to help him achieve that stronger goal?
Well, I actually think it's a good goal, especially for playing basketball, for the longevity of his career. I think we've talked a few times about the fact that when players do bulk up a lot, they tend to find that they have more lower body issues, low back issues, especially knees, ankles, feet, and the low back, just because they're adding this bulk, but it's putting a whole lot more strain on the joints, and it's more weight to carry, especially on those lower extremities that are already pretty fragile in someone of his size. So I don't think it's a bad strategy at all. I think when he's saying he wants to get stronger, he doesn't want to be moved around in the post as much. But you can do that without, just upper body bulk. We saw Kobe and Jordan and even LeBron both put on a lot of muscle for the same reason. They were tired of getting pushed around in the post. They put on all this bulk and found that it really affected their ability to play 82 games because of the beating on their knees, their ankles, their feet. And then all three of them then made the decision the following season to slim back down. Right. And some of it's vanity. It looks, they feel like it looks good. You're
Right.
you're big, you're cut, and that kind of thing. But it does not contribute to a long NBA career.
Yeah, you look at Wembanyama, especially in game one of his NBA Summer League debut. There were times he was getting pushed around a bit. I think Brandon Miller really, was bodying him to the point where Wembanyama dropped to the floor. Uh, you mentioned a lot of lower strength. What about the core? How important would it be for Wemby to develop that core?
Core strength is going to be very important. Even some lower body strength, just in those thighs, and the calves and that kind of thing for the leverage when you're leaning in. But to be honest, I think if we're really going to say what the new NBA is like, it is not a league of banging. This is not Shaq,
Right.
backing somebody, Chris Dudley, down with his shoulder and turning and dunking on it. That's not the way the game works right now. And so it really is more to his advantage to stay lean, to stay mobile, to learn to use leverage, and maybe to get some lower body strength to be able to do those things in the post. But you're not taking a ton of contact, or even post players aren't just taking a ton of real banging body work in the post anymore.
Yeah, and you look at Wemby. Obviously he's just 19 years old. That body is going to fill out. Just give it time, and he's going to get adjusted to the NBA style. And Doctor, I know the NBA is not the physical way it was back in the 90s, maybe a little bit into the 2000s, but I suspect some teams will try to body him, really try to shove him out of his sweet spots, really be physical with him. And especially if a player is shorter, well, I think all players are going to be shorter than him for the most part, but they're going to feel desperate and they're going to want to get a lot more physical with him. Do you expect, a lot of banging on his back, obviously, when he does go back to the basket? You would think that back muscle area needs to be stronger. Your thoughts?
I mean, yes, it's got to be more subtle. And in today's NBA game, it's more about giving quick, sharp elbows, because you really can't just lean into somebody anymore. And by the same token, you don't see players back to the basket just leaning back and backing people down with those rough shoulders. There's not as many charges called in the league, but you're going to see them a lot. You see them more in that situation than you do the whole stepping in, being outside the circle, drawing charges. We're trying to get away from that because it puts players' health at risk, being in the air and taken down like that, and the falls. So I think when he's backing down, we're going to see some people try to test him with some elbows in the back. And I mean, to be honest, the back is a fragile thing, and there's only so much work you can do to bulk up that area without putting the discs at risk, having a disc herniation from and that's what we're talking about when you lift a ton of weight trying to put bulk on. A lot of times, unless your form is completely perfect, people tend to herniate discs throwing around that much weight, just trying to bulk up chest and upper body.
Wow.
So I don't know that there's a lot that's going to do that, but I don't feel like, from what we've seen of Wembanyama's game, that's not a whole lot of his game is leaning back, backing somebody down, and then making a post move.
Right. He is Dr. Ryan McCorkle right here on Locked On Spurs. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at AustinERDoc. And this is new. What's your Threads handle? That's a new thing the kids are doing now. Threads.
It's an extension of Instagram, so it's your same handle. So I'm Austin EM Doc on Instagram, so I'll also be Austin EM Doc on Threads. And I'm really enjoying having an alternative there and getting used to that format, and I like it. So find me over there on Thread too.
All right, well, everybody knows how to follow him. Once again, we're going to let him go very shortly because he has something way more important his kid's birthday. A lot more important than Locked On Spurs right now. Doctor, after the Game 1 Summer League debut, one thing that Wembanyama highlighted, he said that he was winded, that he has conditioning to get better. Is that a product of getting adjusted to the NBA style, or just simply because he hadn't played organized basketball since before the draft, playing in the French finals? I think that was mid-June. So he's had a gap of time where he hasn't played some sort of organized basketball in a while.
I think it's some of both. I think we talked about this before. We used to say that all the time. When I was playing, even in college, my roommate was a swimmer, and I would say he was in much better shape than I was cardiovascularly. Just these incredible warm-ups and then workouts for competitive swimmers. They're in incredible cardiovascular shape, but there is no shape like basketball shape. So I'm sure that Wemby has been doing cardiovascular work. It's not that he's not in decent cardiovascular shape. It's that basketball shape is a different animal because it's endurance mixed with sprinting, mixed with wrestling, basically, especially when you're down in the post. So I think what you said is exactly on point, that he hasn't played competitive basketball in a while, and the basketball shape is different than just being in shape. I don't want to hang it on him that he's not, quote unquote, in shape. He's just, it's not in that particular basketball shape. Now, add on to that we are going to, the leap is a level like none of us who have ever played on that level can fathom, to go from, even college basketball to pro basketball. Not only are the games longer, but the level of how much bigger, faster, and stronger those people are, even at the summer league level, not to mention, when we actually get to the NBA competitive level, requires a step up in level of effort that none of us can imagine. So not that he's not totally capable of it, but it's an adjustment. So I can totally understand why he's winded, but he will A, adjust to it, and then B, once he does adjust to it, we're going to go back to what we've done episodes before on about hitting that rookie wall of trying to maintain that kind of effort for 82 games.
Yeah, and good on him for just owning it too after the game, at least Game 1. Again, everybody, let me remind you. I reminded everybody in the first couple segments, Doctor, and remind them again. Doctor and I were talking after just Wemby's day 1, Game 1, Summer League game. So hopefully he had a better performance in Game 2 versus Portland. But, I'm glad that he owned it. I'm glad that he was honest about it. That he was a little winded. He also was lost. He said that he didn't really get that much time to warm up. He said that impacted him, which leads to the next question. How important is just a warm-up for a pro player like Wembanyama, or just you and me hitting the gym?
Warm-ups are the key to not getting injured. And warm-ups have changed a whole lot since you and I are about the same age, Jeff. Yeah. When we were coming up, it was all about this stretching and things beforehand. And we found that really didn't help. You were stretching the muscle bellies beyond their optimal length. It didn't help with your explosiveness. And it didn't really prevent injury. The way to warm up is to slowly, methodically go through the same motions that you're going to go through during the game. So that's why he has that special warm-up that he's doing, with his feet, and the kind of the Steph Curry warm-up that we've seen. And then that's why layup lines were so important. And our great players were trying to go through the motions that they will do in the game and to break that sweat. Those are the two things that are key to not getting injured, to getting your whole body, your core, and your muscles warm, and to get them familiar with going through the motions they're about to go through on a higher, more explosive level during the game. So warming up is extremely important.
Absolutely. And again, hopefully Wemby got that out of the system. Now hopefully got some rust shaken off as well. The jitters, perhaps. So, that was a big stage. Sold out Vegas game, a summer league game. Tickets were going over $1,000 on the secondary market. It was just ridiculous. But hopefully he got it out of his way. Yeah, exactly. It's crazy. He even got posterized out of the way. So it's over. It's over already. See, I told everybody it's going to happen. It happened. And guess what? It's probably going to happen again. So it happens to everybody. Doctor, before we let you go, so you can blow out the candles with your kids, Do some sneaker talk real briefly. As everybody knows, Wemby signed a deal with Nike. He wore, I think, the Nike Zoom GTs for his Summer League debut. Your thoughts on him joining Nike as well as the sneakers? Everybody, I'm asking Doctor this because he is a big sneakerhead. As much as he's knowledgeable on medicine, he's equally, perhaps not more knowledgeable when it comes to sneakers. So what's up with Wemby's new kicks?
So the Zoom GT runners that he's wearing is part of this new trend. I think maybe I'm a little bit older, and I think there's been a lot of research, and there's been no medical real benefit to wearing high tops versus low tops. You either need ankle braces that do some real protection, which I have to wear when I play because my ankles, like a lot of basketball players, were trashed when playing. But we haven't found any benefit that high tops are actually preventing those injuries more than low tops. So the trend in the last few years has been going to low tops. So Wemby is wearing those Zoom GT low tops. If you look, Nikola Jokic wears the Zoom GT high tops, which I think are pretty cool. I think it's a certain level of humility maybe that maybe he and Jokic have in common, that they didn't push immediately right out of the gate to have a PE, a personal edition. So these are kind of not generic. I mean, they're high end, they're nice shoes, but it's not specific to Wemby. And even Jokic, who's won 2 MVPs and an NBA championship, doesn't have his own personal edition sneaker yet, which is absurd. So I'm sure that will be corrected during this offseason, and he'll have one. So I think this is where Wemby's starting with, one of the most comfortable functional shoes that they have, that Zoom GT, and having it be kind of generic, as I'm sure they want to see how he performs early in the season, and then he'll get his own personal edition probably either sometime this season or next season.
Right.
But those Zoom GTs are real. They're good shoes. They're pretty. If you look, they kind of the ones he's wearing actually look similar to the old Kyrie's.
Right.
So we may be seeing Nike reuse some of those designs that they no longer will be using on Kyrie, and those were actually great shoes. So I thought they were pretty cool.
Yeah, they're very good. I like them. I can't wait for his PE to come out, and then everybody get upset that they can't get them because they're personal editions. So that's how it always goes. Unless you can, Doctor, because you seem to get all the PEs with your line of business.
Let me throw out there too, though. I'm in the bag for Nike. I wish I'm not a corporate shill, and I certainly don't get any kind of kickback at all from them. It's just my personal preferences. But I will say, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. It's Sissoko, our other rookie, broke out those Pumas that were in Fiesta colors. And I thought those were extremely impressive for.
Really?
I'm not a big Puma guy, but when I saw those, I was like, wow! And they were personal for him, done in Fiesta colors, and I thought those were really coming out of the gate strong there for our other rookie.
All right. Well, kudos to City Sissoko. I didn't even notice that. I was just so wrapped up in Wemby fever watching him. I didn't realize that City was wearing those Pumas there. So interesting. Who knows? Maybe they might sign him. Might as well. Puma recently didn't have, kind of like over the last few years, kind of have a resurgence. Remember Rudy Gay joined them. There was another player that joined them. But not too long ago, back in the 80s, maybe the mid-70s, Pumas were it. Remember, a lot of the players in the NBA were Team Puma.
You had Puma. You had a lot of Converse. Converse is now owned by Nike, but Converse dominated the market forever. You go see the movie Air, there's a whole thing about the transition from Converse to Nike and how they just dominated the market back in the day. So Puma had a pretty good foothold too.
He is Dr. Ryan McCorkle. Make sure to follow him on Threads. Start that first at AustinEMDoc, and that's also his Instagram page as well. Go check out his Instagram page because there's a lot of pictures of sneakers and a lot of, I guess, famous musicians for that. Blink 182 is on his Threads page right now. If you go check it out. So I'm jealous that he gets to do all that stuff and gets all that free swag. That's awesome. Yeah, sometimes I get jealous when I see your photos of the musicians that you meet, the celebrities you meet. I mean, the other day you're dropping names on Locked On Spurs. Just hanging out with Bruce. Bruce Springsteen. Just that casually. Just hanging out with Bruce. That's all. But he is Dr. Ryan McCorkle. Make sure to follow him on Twitter as well at Austin ER. Great follow. He'll talk to you about anything you want to know medically when it comes to the Spurs, the NBA, or just music. He's a big music head. Talk with him, and he will definitely interact with you. But for Dr. Ryan McCorkle, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lot on this episode of Locked On Spurs.